Ha. 3 off for a loop. Hope you guys are doing well. You didn't expect to see me this early, did you? Welcome to SnowTALK on this Thanksgiving holiday. I'm wave meteorologist Brian Good. Sorry, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. It's probably a little loud for 7 o'clock in the morning, isn't it? All right. Who's cooking right now? Somebody's going to be cooking, right? And if you're cooking, what time did you get up? That's what I want to know. You can comment with a comment or a question on our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. I get them all covered. There's so many these days. We're not on TikTok yet. We need to be on TikTok. I just don't know how to work it. I'm a boomer. Okay, I hope you guys are doing well. Happy Thanksgiving from our family to yours. It has been a cold setup this morning, but of course, the main focal point is about what's coming our way for the upcoming weekend, and I'm going to cover into next week as well. All right, so let's dive right into it. Let's get into the snowboard, which hasn't really changed a whole lot from yesterday, to be honest with you guys. Still running with the Clipper Snow for Saturday night. Still got to watch Monday. That one's still trying to be sneaky, and I'm watching it. It's not going to sneak by me. And then later next week, it's a noisy signal of light rain and or snow, or light snow and light rain, both that may fall. No big systems right now, but I do think that is something we'll have to watch as we head down the road. I'll explain coming up in just a few moments. All right, let's get you outside, show you Pairstown. Fête de Noël taking place starting tomorrow for that ice rink for the holiday season. Ready to go. They've had the lights all lit up there today. So Kentucky Kingdoms, of course, getting ready for their setup there at Kingdom as well. So there's so many festivals and events. It's almost becoming just as popular as the fall season around here with our festivals and events that we have. Now the Christmas holiday season is really expanding for us. So there's a lot to do, and very pretty stuff to do in town too as well. I hope you have a chance to get at least your holiday decor if you're still able to do that in the cold weather tomorrow. We tried to elude as much as we could. You really want to take advantage of those 60, 70-degree days. We just had a week and a half ago because there's not anything really warm showing up for quite some time. In fact, I just don't see it happening for the rest of the year based on what I'm seeing in the data, which isn't too shocking. We're heading into December. All right, so let's start first off the current setup, and I'll walk you through that Clipper for Saturday. Right now, we're 41. Several 30s out there. We picked up a good quarter of an inch of rain to maybe 3/10 has been a very much an average that we had from the rain last night. Nothing frozen, by the way, was reported on the back edge, even though the radar tried to allude to that into Jennings County at the last minute. If there was a snowflake mixed in, you probably wouldn't have noticed because it was such a minor setup. Meanwhile, you don't see here the clouds are locked in over the area. So we're going to hold on to a cloudy and chilly setup. Could even get a little bit of drizzle that may redevelop this afternoon. The atmosphere, while it's colder, not quite cold yet, to go to flurry action this afternoon should be in the form of drizzle. But later tonight, we will cool the air down to where anything that falls from the sky will indeed be frozen, but it would be very, very light and minor, if it can even happen at all, to be honest. But I'll show you what it looks like upstream in a second. First off, our system that came through last night. If you guys been watching the Today Show, heading right into New York City for the Macy's Day Parade today. Gusty winds and a steady, heavy rainfall. Oh, it doesn't sound lovely. I'm sure they're like, oh no, it's like their Derby Day for them on, for Thanksgiving there. So having rain like that, everyone performing outside is not the best setup, but they've been through it before. I mean, this is the 100th year, so they're professionals. Okay, looking upstream for us, see a little bit of noise here as you get into Illinois, Iowa, into South Dakota. There's several little weak impulses that are flying in and a very strong flow coming in from the northwest. One of those will be moving in this afternoon. That should be our drizzle that may try to redevelop roughly 4 to 5 o'clock today. We get into tonight. This wave in Iowa should be here. That should be our snow flurries that we may see briefly tomorrow morning, especially in southern Indiana and up to 71 corridor and points east from that point on. We will get back to blue sky tomorrow. So if you're missing the sunshine, it will come back briefly. And then our Clipper that we're talking about, have been talking about for quite some time, it seems like. We've clippered this thing to death, it seems like. It is still just now entering the U.S. network back to the northwest of us, so it's not fully locked in yet. And that's why I still think there's still some adjustments on moisture levels and track that have to be made, which is why we don't have the alert day out yet. I think it's coming based on everything I've been looking at. But we want to get those finer details locked in, because I think at this point you guys are aware. Awareness is high. This is coming, right? So I don't think I need to rehash that idea, but we want to get the finer details out, and we should be able to in the next 12 to 24 hours. So hang tight. Once it gets into the network, it's a little easier for us to kind of narrow down some of those specifics. And for those of you that are in wave country and these kind of clippers that move on by, those finer details matter on a couple of counties here and there. And I know for some of you really want to know, am I going to be in that zone or not? So I'm going to try my best to answer that now based on what I have available to me. But again, I want to caution, there will likely be some adjustments that will still be coming our way. All right, so that's the lineup. In fact, look at the cold air this thing's going to be pulling down with it. This is why this stands out compared to the last light snow chance that we had that, we didn't really see much of a coating out of that. This one's different. This one's bringing in the cold air that's already arriving, freezing up the ground as we head into tomorrow night, early Saturday. Then it moves in with a stripe of snow that just stretches all the way through Missouri, right into the heart of it. I mean, for a snow lover, it's almost like, oh, I love that track, but I don't want it to be too perfect this early. Want a little bit of a mistake here and there, so it'll correct itself. That's how snow lovers think. I know you all. I think the same way. But at the moment, this is a perfect track for a light snow event. Now, it's moving fast, doesn't have a lot of moisture, so don't get too excited. This is not going to be a surprise, half a foot of snow coming our way. It can't do that. The system is not able to do that. But it can give us a coating that around here, light amounts, even a dusting, and this is a case where it's not just a dusting on grassy areas, this is a dusting everywhere, can lead to slick spots. So that's why we really need to pay attention to it. If you don't have to travel at all Saturday night into Sunday morning, then I wouldn't just sit back and enjoy it as it flies on by you. But if you do have to venture out, you're the ones we're watching out for. You're the ones we're going to be keeping an eye on when it comes to the specifics that we're working on. Okay, so let's dive right into it. We'll start with Futurecast for the setup today. Any little hint, by the way, of sun that tries to come out. There's been a few hints on the satellite I noticed northwest of us. Don't get too excited about that even. Clouds are going to rule today. Here comes that first little lobe or the vort, whatever, that drops in this afternoon. That will enhance the drizzle briefly for the early evening period. But then we get colder aloft. So at that point onward, we would then see it be snow flurries, if anything. And here's what's wild is that there are several models that have nothing here, not even clouds in the area. They clear the sky out completely. I am not buying that. Looking upstream, the way things are trending. Now, this may be a little too far south. This is the HER. Maybe a little too far south with some of the flurry action. But I do think we're going to cloud back up. And I do think we're going to get some flurries out there. We tend to do this with cold air masses. So that chance remains. So if you're out shopping very late tonight, early tomorrow, you may have some Pista Flakes for your shopping pleasure as you walk around town. I think it's fine, right? It's not going to be anything that's going to cause problems. So I think it puts everyone in the holiday spirit when you hear the music playing in the stores, and then you walk outside, bracing in your parka, trying to get to the car with all the bags, and snow flurries flying around you. That's a true Clark Griswold type of holiday shopping, in my opinion, anyway. Now, I'm not going to venture out. I'm staying away from all that. But hey, if you're going to, all power to you. Now, once we get into the afternoon, midday and afternoon hours tomorrow, I do think we will see a faster rate of the sun breaking through than what the model shows here. So I think the opposite for the afternoon on Friday. Cold, though. Thermometer is going to be really tough to move tomorrow, just with the cloudier start and the strong northwest flow. We'll get above freezing, but not too far from it. So the wind chill will be in the 20s all day. So dress for the 20s tomorrow, even with sunshine. That will be the case. That sets the stage, though. That clearing is important because we get that clearing that allows us to then see the thermometer drop down into the teens and lower 20s by early Saturday. That is going to take all those pavement temperatures, the ground, which is running above normal on temperature now, will be starting to cool down and then begin to freeze as we head throughout the day on Saturday. And the high clouds that roll in so fast ahead of this clipper will start to block the sun out fairly quick on Saturday. And that's important because that will limit how much warming we can even try to gain after dropping so low Saturday morning. So that sets us up for a cold scenario. All we need now is the moisture. And as typically the case with clippers and cold air like this, moisture is going to be tough. It's limited. Cold air does not hold as much moisture as warmer air does. That's just the way it works. So snow ratios are going to be high, though, with the cold air in place. So I think we're going to look at about 15. Normally, snow around here is at 8 to 1 ratio, 8 inches of snow per 1 inch of liquid. Not to get all technical here. And this ratio, we could go 15 to 17 or so to 1 ratio, which means you can get more bang for your buck out of just a small amount of moisture, which would normally be a patchy area of drizzle, can actually become a decent light coating of snowfall. Snow takes advantage of that, cold air does. So that's what stands out on snow events versus light rain and drizzle scenarios, as they can impact you. And around Louisville, we run into more accidents in these lighter events. So that's why I want to make sure everyone's aware that this is still on the table. Now, what you're going to notice as we head into Saturday afternoon, you're going to see the radar more than likely light up with snow. Just like we saw yesterday with the green, the rain that was showing up. It was all over the place on the radar, but very little, if anything, was even reaching the ground until later in the afternoon, evening. This is the same scenario. We're going to see snow break out. It's going to take some time for it to begin to fall, and then it'll begin to stick right away because the ground's so cold. So that's one issue we've got with this system. When do we saturate? Because that starts to eat away a little bit at our snow total, right? So the longer that dry air lingers, and if we don't start getting the snow to reach the ground until the last 2 hours of it moving through, well, then that takes away some of your snow amount. Versus if it were to be snow right out of the gate, it'd be a little bit more. The truth is somewhere in between that. We're going to account for a drier start to it, and then snow showers just increasing as you get closer to sunset into the evening. Again, exact timing, it's still, we got to get it into the network first and get some weather balloons into the same. Once we're able to do that, we'll be able to try to lock that in a bit more and get a better handle on moisture levels. The models keep varying. I see them jump around every run. They just vary. Just small amounts of moisture can make a difference of 1 inch, plus or minus. So that's why those finer details will matter. And then on a light snow event, they do factor in. Okay, so in general, Saturday night, light snow will be breaking out across the area, sticking to everything. It's going to be so pretty. I'm excited about this. Now, I'm really hoping that this, where the weather balloons don't lock into this thing and it ends up being a situation where we just miss it completely. It goes north or something all the way to Indianapolis and then skips us. I don't want to jinx it because we know it happens. But in this scenario so far, everything seems to be blocking in on it, impacting at least some of us, if not all of us, as we into Saturday night and early Sunday. So this is just a snapshot just to give you an idea of what it will look like as it zips on by. And then we'll get back to sun on Sunday. But if we get a light coating of snow on Sunday, that thermometer, I don't see us getting to the freezing mark. In fact, we may not even get out of the 20s. It would be really tough with snow on the ground to get out of the 20s. So a very cold Sunday, setting the stage for what will happen early next week. More on that in a second. So what we're going to do for now, without getting too specific on amounts, and they're not going to be wild amounts, but I know everyone wants specific numbers. I get that. We're almost there. But I think this is a fair assessment. Near 64 in southern Indiana. I still think it is going to keep jogging a little north. Some of the modeling is very much lined up in that particular zone. Some a little more south toward Campbellsville and into Columbia. There's still some data that wants to take it that far south, so I can't rule it out. So I can't say zero for you all. I would just go lower risk than areas to the north. Okay, so based on that, here's what the modeling looks like. And you can see already just by looking at it, there's some differences. Some on placement, some on the amount of moisture. Makes a difference on, certainly the blue gets your attention, right? So when you look at, say, here's the NAM model, a light snow event, very angled across southern Indiana and north central Kentucky, but it does technically include Louisville. Whoops, sorry about that. Hit the wrong button. Here is the in-house model that we have. Not sure yet if this is going to be right, but it's more aggressive. It actually lines up with the Euro, to be honest. The Euro and the graph looks similar. I'm not sure if the Euro is updated yet on this particular graphic, but it looks similar to this. Apache areas that could go over 1 inch across wave country, the heart of wave country. The herd model can't see it entirely yet, so I don't want to show it just yet. Here's the Euro. I mean, similar, a little bit of a spike here and there. And again, it's only just small amounts of moisture that are making the difference on that. So we'll watch it right now. I think on the snow meter, I'll give it a 2. I'll give it a 2. Don't want to go much higher yet on that one. because it is a Saturday night, and a lot of us are aware of this, and it's not going to be a situation that's going to be impacting school right away and work. It may impact church services on Sunday. If 6 spots develop, they will likely not improve rapidly on Sunday, even though it ends before then. So we'll have to watch it. Okay, so that's your Saturday Clipper, guys. Your light snow event, pretty light snow. I think range fair right now is to say like a ½ inch, 1.5 inches in some cases. I think it's a very light event, but it could trigger an advisory. Very well could trigger a winter weather advisory, especially being the first one of the season. Weather Service looks at things like we do. Sometimes alerts go out for impact. Sometimes it's criteria that fit it. It's kind of a balancing act. This one's one that criteria could be met, but certainly the impact would be for us for some slick roads. All right, so it zips on by. Then we get to Monday. And this is the one I keep harping on since Monday of this past week, or this week. It feels like it's a weekend, sorry. Where this clipper that shows up on Monday, is it there or is it not there? The models show it 1 second and they take it away and they give it back and they take it away. But in every case, the energy is at least there. So there is definitely a clipper that drops in. It's just the angle of it. Where does it fall? And this is the Euro from overnight. Not very impressive, right? For Monday night. The newest run just came in. I did not get it uploaded. I apologize in the system, but it actually is nearly identical to Saturday night. Another inch potential that could fall. That is interesting. That would then impact a little more travel and maybe school. We'll see. I don't know. But it looks light. And more than likely, whatever falls Saturday night will still be on the ground when this rolls in for a Monday. So it could get interesting. I don't want this one to sneak by us, though. So right now, there's not a lot of support. We only have a 10% chance right now in the forecast for this one. But these can be sneaky. And with us getting so cold, it only takes very light amounts. So we'll watch it. This, too, will affect how low we're going to get at night because we're cloudier versus a clear sky. You don't drop as much, but you also don't warm as much during the day. So our number forecast for highs and lows, as you'll see in the 10-day, we're going to have to still play around with those numbers, some fine-tuning based on whether or not the sky will be clear or not. I think Monday daytime has a good chance to have a sunny sky for a while, and then we'll cloud up, and this looks to be Monday night that this would roll in. After that, we do have a modest warm-up, which may feel like a heat wave at this point, where we may get into the upper 40s, could even touch 50 for a day or two next week. But if you want more exciting weather, you snow lovers out there, you got to keep in mind, you got to get warm air. Remember what I said, warm air holds more moisture. We've got to get that warm air injected into the system and into our weather pattern to get those bigger events. Otherwise, you're going to just get clippers like crazy. And so the warmer air, while it's kind of a bummer, you don't want too much of it. You don't want to warm up in 70 degrees in December, which we know can happen. But we want just enough to get the moisture level to increase. The battle the models are having is that the cold air keeps being dominant, especially in the northeast part of the country and the Great Lakes in eastern Canada. That flow is fairly locked in. So it's a constant flow of clippers to keep diving in. But at the same time, that energy that is stuck out here in the southwest part of the country is just lingering and waiting. As long as it's hanging out there, these clippers will keep diving down. And I don't see it's warming up at all. But once this rolls out, two things will happen. I think it's inevitable, too. Once it rolls out, this ridge, which is poking way into portions there of Western Canada and Alaska, will begin to flatten just a bit. Once that takes place, the warmer air will try to build back into the Ohio Valley. We will flatten out the jet stream a bit, but it will allow, you guys love my drawings, it will allow a low pressure to then maybe time out perfectly as it rolls out into the Tennessee Valley, along with a clipper that's diving in to phase together right over the Ohio or Tennessee valleys as we head into the extended outlook. And that could be as early as next weekend. It's a perfect scenario for that to eventually meet up. But it's all about timing. Will that energy roll out? If it doesn't, if it holds back, then we'll just stay in constant clippers coming through, which is a lot like how 2010 was. But if this thing rolls out, then we're going to get a little more of an exciting system. At the risk of it being rain to start with. So be mindful of that. But it would lead to a bigger scenario of a wintry mass or a winter storm even that could develop. No signal right now that I can confidently say is there. I'm just telling you, speaking just of pattern only, an experience of seeing this scenario what is likely the next phase. This is likely the next phase we will enter. But how do we get to it? And when does that all happen? Well, that's tough. It's hard to see something like that beyond even 5 days, let alone 10, and certainly let alone 2 weeks. But it could still keep things interesting all the way through maybe Christmas. We'll see as zooms on by. Right now, again, the models just don't really show it. Even the one that's at the end of next week, it tries to phase, but it still is a little off. They're not perfectly aligned. They don't shake hands. So therefore, there's still a separation. But just beyond this range, it may get a little more exciting. All right, I don't want to get that too in the weeds because I don't want to jinx it. All right, let's get into your 10-day. There we go. You see the 30s coming our way. Snow chance, cold weather early next week. That's all locked in. There's a little bump of warm air for the latter half of next week before we drop again for the following weekend. All right. Any questions I can try to ask? Hello, Carrie. How are you doing? Are the in-house models generated by computers or humans? Well, humans created all the weather models that we've got. In most cases, AI is becoming a little more available. We do not have AI models that we show. They are all created by math formulas. Math is a big part of weather models, but they're all generated on that idea. Just different physics are entered in, different theories are put into why things happen, and sometimes those formulas are good and sometimes they're not so good. But our in-house model is a mathematical formula generated setup. We don't have AI involved in that yet. But we all know those days are coming. I mean, the Euro already does have products. Even the GFS is developing them. So there are some, and they are actually not doing too bad. They're just not readily available to be constantly viewed in a public eye just yet. I think it needs a little more fine tuning, but we're getting there. We're getting there. But good question, Carrie. Appreciate you asking that. Let's see, Lauren, how many days until spring? I never do the countdown to spring, hardly. It's a long way off. And spring around here can range anywhere from February to June. We never know. Sometimes we get 3 first day of springs. Takes a while. Let's see. Travis, this winter doesn't look bad at all. I don't know if I would say it doesn't look bad at all. I think it looks, this is one of the coldest and snowiest setups in December that I have seen, certainly in 14 years. Whether or not that holds into January, that is a good question, Travis. We don't know yet. But these are tough to break. They are tough to break. Once they get going, they just don't want to give up. But boy, I'm telling you, if we get stuck in Clipper land, got a lot of challenges because every single one of them is going to have the same issue as the one on Saturday, where it's not in the upper air network. And if we don't have that data, then it's a lot of fine tuning. So we want to give you a heads up always in an extended outlook, certainly here in the block, but even in the 10-day, we want to give you a heads up. But to have any confidence in any of them down the road, that's a lot more of a headache. I'm not looking forward to that. I love snow, but Clippers can be a pain in that sense because they're just so last minute. They move so fast. We just don't get a lot of data other than the models leading up to the event. But I mean, you got to take that with a grain of salt because there's a margin of error that happens with that idea. It's the X factor, as we say. All right, everyone looks good. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, guys. I know it's early in the day. I hope I didn't wake some of you up with the alert that came out, notification on the phone. Carson's going to be in here later today. He's going to get you guys through the evening setup. Carson may have to go with an alert day if the data is coming in from that upper air network on the snow. He may have went out this evening, so make sure to tune into the evening shows tonight. And then, of course, I'll be back tomorrow morning, and we'll see how it looks at that point, and I'll have an update on the extended as well. I want you guys to seriously, though, have a good Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for you all. Thank you for all your support. And I know that 99.9% of you are snow lovers, but even that 0.1%, I love you as well. All right. Have a good Thanksgiving, everyone. Stay safe, stay out of trouble, and don't spend too much money on me for holiday shopping tomorrow. I know you're going to be tempted, but don't do that. Just give me some Twix. That's fair, right? See you on the flip side tomorrow morning.